Hello, Greeley. Here's your agenda overview for tonight's City Council meeting, January 20th, starting at 6 p.m. Just a reminder that you can attend in person, you can watch on GTV8, or you can join via Zoom. The meeting starts with all the normal things: call to order, pledge, roll call, approval of the agenda, and what's great about Greeley report. As well as, of course, we know the citizen input section, where council members and the mayor can provide reports around things in the community and also offer additional initiatives. One note on the citizen input section: all of the agendas from December of last year and earlier that I've seen had the same description for citizen input. It was pretty simple. It stated, during the public input portion of the meeting and public hearings, in-person attendees can address the council in chambers and the public can join the Zoom webinar and comment from the remote meeting. However, in the past two agendas, the language around public input has continued to change. Last meeting, the wording had changed to residents may share comments or speak to an agenda item not assigned to a public hearing. Time limit, 3 minutes. Comments are best as statements. Council will listen, but may choose not to respond to questions during this time, with greater detail around how to speak in each context, in person, online, or written. Then this week, it changed even more. Now it says comments are most effective when offered as statements. Council will listen attentively, but may not respond to questions during this time. Staff will follow up to pertinent questions. The word pertinent seems to leave some wiggle room, as I'm not sure who exactly decides whether it's pertinent or not. But with the changes as a whole around it being best as statements after community members were told questions weren't allowed, which was quickly challenged, and the shift to active engagement of council members, it tells me that the increased public pressure that council actually listen, sharper questions being asked, and growing frustration around transparency has been noted. So that seems like perhaps a positive thing. On the consent agenda, which as a reminder, are the items that can all be passed together with one vote unless a member of council pulls an item. We only have 3 items this week. The first one is a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last council meeting on January 6th. I always find it interesting to read these minutes, especially with how they frame citizen input comments and items with more divisiveness. For example, according to the minutes, I personally spoke about the 3-mile plan and Carestream property, which, yes, I did, but more specifically, I shared concerns around the fact that Windsor has repeatedly asked us not to include it in our plan, and shared information as it has been in their plans for 25 years. And I shared information around the fact that the city agreed to give Martin Lynn's company a non-refundable $200,000 deposit into escrow for Carestream, among other things. And Martin Lynn is working on convincing the new owners to annex to Greeley, seemingly for some benefit to himself. My point being, the minutes often leave out important context and details, but once voted on, become part of the permanent record. And if you're looking back at the meeting minutes to see what happened, you're going to miss a whole lot. Then there's a motion to appoint Weld County Commissioner Lynette Pepler as the county's representative to the Island Grove Advisory Board, which would be through the end of 2026. And finally, there within the consent agenda is a resolution to approve a $199,845 change order to the contract for Mark Thomas and Company, who provides project management, survey, and design for the Downtown Civic Campus project. This includes water, sewer, stormwater, and transportation infrastructure design. This brings the total contract to nearly $2 million and places the entire project at around $1.2 million over budget already to this point. Then on to the regular agenda items. First is a public hearing and second reading for the floodplain code changes based on unresolved floodplain ordinance findings from 2021 that should have already been amended. This is largely about code alignment and compliance, and there will be a short presentation by Brian Hathaway, the Water Quality and Regulatory Compliance Manager, and his presentation states that while it will change and add language to the code, it doesn't functionally change much of anything in how we're functioning here in Greeley. Then there will be a public hearing and second reading appropriating the funds to the budget for 2026 for the special election that's occurring next month. Item 15 is a housing affordability financing and incentives informational presentation. So this is presentation only, not a vote. It'll be presented by Deb Callies, the Director of Housing. She's going to discuss the different levels of housing, and they'll be defined from affordable all the way up to executive. And we'll be discussing the importance of mixed income housing, encompassing all affordability categories. She's also going to be sharing what Greeley already does towards this goal and what still needs to happen. And a lot of this is around incentives, possible tax revenue, etc. Finally, item 16 is appointments to boards and commissions based on interviews that occurred January 9th. So they do these interviews once a month for any openings. And there will be another person appointed to the Human Relations Commission, someone to Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and someone to the Youth Commission. As always, I encourage you to watch the meetings, speak during citizen input if you're able, or send in written comments, and pay attention not just to what's voted on, but also how quickly, with how much discussion, and under what framing. Because process tells us a lot about their priorities. Hope everyone's having a